All right, here's another video on practice test 2 of the redesigned SAT test. This is the first on section 4, which is the section you are allowed a calculator, hence the little calculator over here. And in this video, I think I'll get through the first 10 or so problems. Let's see how it goes. So the first one says a musician has a new song available. They earn 9 cents each time the song is downloaded and 2/10 of a cent, whatever, each time the song is streamed. Which of the following expressions represents the amount that the musician earns if the song is downloaded D times? So each of the D times it's downloaded, the musician earns 9 cents. So I'm going to take that 0.09 and multiply it by D, as I do here and here. And the musician also earns 2/10 of a cent every time it's streamed. And note that you want to add those two numbers together because the musician gets it here or here. So the answer would simply be C. If you were struggling on a test and wanted a way to check your answer or something, plug in values for D and S. I don't know, maybe D is 1 and S is 2. Well, then you'd get, 9 cents twice and 2/10 of a cent once, and add those numbers up and see which of these give you that number. You'll get the same answer, C. Quality control manager at a factory selects 7 light bulbs at random for inspection out of every 400. At this rate, how many light bulbs would be inspected if they produce 20,000? Okay, so one way you could do this is set it up as a fraction. You got 7 over 400. This is inspected over light bulbs. And you want to know how many will be inspected. So is equal to x over 20,000. And then solve this equation. Well, to get the x all by itself, you just got to multiply that 20,000 over here. So you get 7 times 20,000. In other words, 140,000 divided by 400 is equal to x. And you divide those two numbers. You can pull out your calculator, or you could say that it's 1,400 divided by 4, which is the same as 700 divided by 2, which is 350, I think. But you get a calculator, so no point doing that in your head. You could just take the whole number, 140, 1, 2, 3. Actually, I guess you could even take 20,000 times 7 divided by the 400. And you'll get this same answer, 350. I guess another way you could do it is every 400 light bulbs. So maybe 400 a day. Think about it like that way. They make 400 every day. And so they inspect 7 every day. Well, how many days would it take to do 20,000 light bulbs? Well, if they do 400 every day, then 20,000 divided by 400 will give you this number, 50. It would take you 50 days to make all these. And they inspect 7 every day. So if they inspect 7 a day for 50 days, 7 times 50 gives you this 350. Okay, maybe that was a waste of time. Moving on, number 3. One end of a spring is attached to a ceiling. Okay, so you have this linear equation. These are very common in these exams. And so the way to think about it is the length of the spring starts out at 24, and then you get another 3.5, I don't know what these are, inches maybe, every time m increases by 1. So what is m when L equals 73? Well, that's fairly straightforward. Instead of writing L, write 73. So solve this equation right here for m. Subtract 24 from both sides of the equation. You get 49 is equal to 3.5 m. And then divide both sides by 3.5, and you get that m is 49 over 3.5. This is half of 7. So you can cancel this out with half of one of those. Okay, so you could probably figure that out, but you don't have to. You plug it into a calculator and you get this 14. So the answer is 14, which you could check by taking that 14 and sticking it in right here. Right, 14 times 3.5 plus whatever my constant term was, 24. Sure hope this equals 73. Hey, it does. Cool. Looks like I got the right answer. Number 4. 4 and 5 refer to this problem. We have a singer who earns $120 if 8 people attend, and what she earns is proportional to attendance. So how much will she earn if 20 attend? Well, you could kind of set it up like we did here. I know that she earns 120 if 8 people attend, and so that's got to be equal to how much she earns if 20 people attend. So I can solve this equation, multiply both sides by 20, and you get 2400 over on this side divided by 8, which is equal to 300, is equal to x. Okay, hang on. I don't want this to be confusing. This equals x, so x equals 300, which is this answer right here. Another way you could do it is you could figure out how much she earns per person. Right? She makes 120 total. 120 divided by 8 will tell you she makes $15 per person. And so if she makes 15 per person times 20 people, 15 times 20 gives you the same 300. Number 5, the performer uses 43% of the money earned to pay the costs involved. What is profit? The rest of the money is profit. What is profit if the performer makes if 8 people come to the show? Well, they already told you up here that if 8 people come to the show, she earns 120 bucks. But she doesn't get to keep it all. She only keeps the rest of it, not 43%, but the remaining 57%. So if you take that 57% and you multiply it by this $120, you'll get how much she walks with. So 0.57 times 120 equals 68.4, this answer here. You could have eliminated a few of these right off the bat. 57% is more than 50%. 50% of 120 is 60 bucks. So she's going to make more than 60 bucks. She's not getting this one or this one. So it must be one of these two solutions. So even if you, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to do this calculation, but if you couldn't, at least you can narrow it down. Number 6, 4 times the number x is added to 12. The result is 8. Okay, so that occurs a fair amount in here as well, where they kind of give you sentences in English and you want to translate it into an equation. So 4 times the number x is added to 12. So I got 12 plus 4x. The result is 8. I translate that sentence in English to get this right here. And then this is asking you what number results when 2 times x is added to 7. In other words, 2x plus 7 equals what? Okay, so I can solve this one for x. I can subtract 12 from both sides of the equation and get 4x equals negative 4, and therefore x equals negative 1. And then plug that in up here to get 2 times negative 1 plus 7, which will be equal to my answer, which is negative 2 plus 7, which is 5. So the answer to the question would end up being the 5 right here. Number 7, the equation above represents a parabola in the xy plane. It sure does. Which of the following equivalent forms of the equation displays the x-intercept of the parabola, as constants or coefficients? Okay, so the x-intercepts in a graph happen when the height of this graph is 0. All right, this is my x-axis right here. I'm looking for when the height equals 0. So to figure out when the height equals 0, the height is the y-coordinate. So really what I want to do is set this y-coordinate equal to 0 and figure out what the x must be equal to. Really all I'm saying is this question, to find the x-intercepts, you would solve this thing. And if you're trying to solve this thing, you'd probably factor. Maybe you'd factor it like this. And so if you're trying to solve it, you'd set this equal to 0, but you're not trying to solve it. You're just trying to find an equivalent form. So we want to leave it as y. Maybe I should have left this as y. And this right here will show your two x-intercepts. Your x-intercepts happen at positive 4 and positive 2. And note that those numbers show up in this equation. The answer would be D. Number 8, in a video game, each player starts the game with K points and loses 2 points each time a task is not completed. The player who gains no additional points and fails to complete 100 tasks has a score of 200 points. What is the value of K? Okay, so you start out with K points and you lose, hence the minus, 2 points each time a task is not completed. So maybe I'll use T to represent the number of tasks not completed. The player gains no additional points and fails to complete 100 tasks, has a score of 200 points. So what they're telling me is that if T equals 100, my score, so maybe I should say this equals my score. My score is equal to 200. So it's saying solve this equation for K. Well, this is saying K minus 200 equals 200. So if I add 200 to both sides of the equation, I get 400. If you're worried that you set this all up wrong, talk yourself through it after you get the answer. If I start with 400 and I lost 2 points every time I messed up, and I messed up 100 times, I'd be losing 200 of these 400. I'd be left with exactly 200. Looks like that's the answer. A worker uses a forklift to move boxes that weigh either 40 pounds or 65 pounds each. Let X be the number of 40-pound boxes and Y be the number of 65-pound boxes. The forklift can carry up to either 45 boxes or a weight of 2,400 pounds. Which of the following systems of inequalities represents this relationship? Okay, so I'm going to need to set up an inequality for this, and then maybe in another equation or inequality for this one. So 45 boxes. X is the number of small boxes, Y is the number of big boxes. So I need 45 to be greater. Let's see, which of the following represents? So the forklift can only handle 45. So the amount that it handles must be either less than or equal to 45. So what it handles, maybe H, I wish I hadn't put that there, has to be less than or equal to 45. So I got X plus Y here. Has to be less than or equal to 45 because X is the number of small boxes and Y is the number of big boxes. However, I still have to worry about the weight as well. I know that each of these X boxes weighs 40 pounds. So if I want to set up another inequality about weight, I say the amount of weight I get from the 40-pound boxes is 40X. And the amount of weight I get from the 65-pound boxes is 65Y. And that must be less than or equal to this capacity, 2,400 pounds. So I have these two inequalities, and what I do is I come over here and I kind of look for them. And I think that's this first one. And I guess you could go through and convince yourself that's not any of the other ones. So yeah, I guess the answer would be A. And number 10. A function f satisfies f of 2 equals 3, f of 3 equals 5. A function g satisfies g of 3 equals 2, and g of 5 equals 6. What is the value of f of g of 3? Composite functions. When you're trying to figure out f of g of 3, what you do is you work from the inside out. So figure out what's in red. Figure out g of 3. Well, g of 3 is given to me in this problem. All right, g of 3, it tells me right here, is equal to 2. So really all this question is asking me to do is figure out what is f of 2. Well, guess what? That's given to me in the problem as well. F of 2 is given to me to be equal to 3. So the answer to this question right here is 3. So they give you a bunch of information that you don't need, that you're not asked for in this problem. The key to composition, to function composition like this, work from the inside and replace as you go out.